In your commentary, you described this half as extremely challenging, but the second quarter numbers looking good.
Absolutely. We're on the track back to recovery, and the reason the first half of the year was very challenging was because of all of the rehabilitation measures we had to put in place on the South African operations, the safety implications of pulling out of some of our areas, and then also the expansion projects needed to be completed. Very pleased that we've finished the rehab work in South Africa. The projects in Peru and Ghana are now completed, and we expect to see production now increase to around 960,000 ounces in the March quarter from 839,000 ounces this quarter, which was already 5% up on last quarter. So I think we're turning the corner at the right time, and it's fortuitous, of course, that the gold price is also moving up at the time our production is moving up.
If we look at the results, though, costs flat in rand terms, but you were helped by the weakening currency when you're selling in dollars. Where would you like to see the rand?
Look, I think the rand needs to be reasonably stable. Probably between 9 and 10 is probably a reasonable rate. We need to have a competitive rand as well for the country. But I think a very volatile rand is not good for the country because I think it scares off foreign investors. And also it does tend to lead to rampant inflation if the rand depreciates markedly and stays there. We've seen that in the past. There's about a 6 to 12 month lag, and then you find inflation running away. So let's try and keep it reasonably stable. And for us, a stable rand at these levels with a higher gold price, that would be the perfect scenario for us.
Talking about costs, you have developed some cost-saving measures, including things around electricity. How are those going?
They're going very well. On power, what we've done is we've reduced our electricity usage to 95% of the pre-Eskom crisis scenario. That's what Eskom required us to do. We've got enough power to produce all our requirements, but at the same time we want to knock another 10% off our usage. 5% this year, 5% next year without impacting production. That's going to help us in terms of the cost because there's no doubt Eskom has to have above inflation tariff increases, and we need to try and claw that back through saving and consumption. In fact, if all users, including retail, could do what we're doing, I don't think we're going to have a major crisis in the country. That's what it's down to. Everyone has to save power.
Why didn't we do it sooner?
Well, I guess necessity is the mother of invention. The crisis hits and then you react. And I suppose we should all learn.
You realize you didn't actually need to use it as much.
Exactly right.
Nick, talking about fuel, though, that has come down. That must be helping your cost levels as well.
It is. The problem with cost reductions is that they tend to be sticky. To get the cost reductions is tough. You've got to go out and hunt it. And the oil price is not yet fully reflected in our costs. We'll see that coming through in the March quarter. And I expect to take about another $10 million a quarter off our costs at least. So that's going to help us as well. And, with the gold price holding up pretty well against everything else and getting the pullback in base metals that's helping us in our cost inputs, I think the future's looking a lot better this year for gold producers than last year.
The other big issue last year was safety and how those new developments happening.
Well, I must say that over the 2008 year we had 47 fatalities, which was absolutely shocking. And that was one of the biggest focus areas for me, was to improve safety. And I must say for the 6 months to December, we've had 8 fatalities, which is 8 fatalities too much. But if you annualize that, you can see that we are substantially better than the previous year. And we will continue our quest for zero harm. Credit to Anglo Gold. I think they've achieved a fatality-free quarter last year. I think they've showed the way. And it shows that it can be done. So I think all of the producers have got to work on improving safety to new levels, and we'll certainly do that.
Nick, if looking at your numbers, you've got quite a large increase in your long-term debt. Why was that?
That was the final capital that was needed to finish Tarkwa and Cerro Corona. So we've gone up to about $1 billion of debt, still well within 1 year's EBITDA, so about 0.8 of an annual EBITDA. And I'd like to try and get that down a little bit, but it doesn't concern me. We don't have any major maturities down the track that we can't refinance. We've still got headroom of about $250 million that we can use. So our debt position is very comfortable, no crisis there, and we've spent all of our capital on the major projects. Now we can start harvesting them, and obviously some of that will go to paying down debt.
What are you hoping for the rest of 2009?
Well, I want to get to that target of 4 million ounces on an annualized basis. I want to get our cash costs down to around about $440 an ounce, our all-in costs down to about $620 per ounce, And if these prices hold up in the gold sector, we can make a lot of money. The rand, we've seen weaken. Let's not forget the Australian dollar. The Australian dollar's gone to 65 cents. So we're receiving a price in Australia of $1,350 an ounce. So again, we can make money there. If it holds there, we deliver our plan, we're going to be in great shape.
What about the gold price?
Well, on the gold price, let's first of all say that the ETFs are at 1,200 tons long. I think that's around about the highest level they've ever been at. They continue to grow. The central banks are not selling all of their allocations. We saw in the last quarter of 2008, you couldn't get small bars, you couldn't get coins. Krugerrands were trading at a premium. All of this tells you the fundamentals for gold are looking a lot better. Some people say it's going to go to $2,000. I'm not going to stick my neck out that far. But let me tell you, I think $1,000 is eminently possible during the course of 2009.
Nick Holland is the CEO at Goldfields. David, what do you make of the results?
No, very good results. In fact, listening to Leon Esterhazen the other evening, it was interesting that he brought out that all the major mines now have good new management, and huge decisions have been taken, perhaps which the old management couldn't. But I think that judging from this year, with all the paper money that's been printed, this could possibly be gold's year. People are turning to gold as a hedge mechanism.